What's up, everybody? I'm Katie.
And I'm Morgan.
And this is For Your Misinformation, a podcast dedicated to empowering women to be more politically engaged so we can act in our own best interests.
Let us break down the problem and tell you what we're doing and what you can do to help solve it.
Hi, Morgan.
Hi, Katie.
How are you?
I am doing okay.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking a vodka cranberry.
Nice.
So, I'm feeling real basic, but I'm, not ashamed of that at all because women are awesome. And if I'm a basic girl, that's great.
Right. Plus, you're just trying to prevent your next UTI.
Vodka cranberry. I'm preventing UTIs. Yeah. And, it's wonderful. It's like a Wednesday afternoon. I've earned it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm super good because your birthday present came in the mail today.
I'm so happy.
And I'm wearing it. So it's a sweatshirt that says elect more women, because duh. And then a quote book from AOC and a book that I've really been looking forward to reading and some face masks. It was so nice. I was already having a good day because I got to have an excursion today. I had my blood drawn because yesterday was 6 months since my kidney donation.
Yay!
So I got to leave. I got to leave my house to get my blood drawn today.
That's so exciting.
It was. And then when I got back, your birthday present was here. It was just a really good day.
That makes me so happy.
And now we get to talk some shit about Joe Biden.
Yeah, which I have such mixed feelings about. Everything involving Joe Biden, I have mixed feelings about. On the one hand, I'm I'm excited to record this episode. And on the other hand, I'm when you're how are you? I'm kind of bummed out because we have to record an episode about Joe Biden. Right.
But I want to go on the record about it. It's been a couple weeks that we've been wanting to talk about this. And at least in my mind, I was he's got to address it. He's going to address it eventually. Let's give him another week. Let's give him another week. But okay, essentially what we're talking about, if you haven't heard, is presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden has been pretty credibly accused of sexual assault. There's nobody's surprised to hear that he's handsy, inappropriately so, with often very young women, but also members of his staff. And last year, a bunch of women came forward to say that he had been touching their neck and hair inappropriately. And I just that must make you so uncomfortable if you're they must have felt so uncomfortable if they decided to band together and come forward. But Tara Reade was one of the women who came forward last year to say, yes, Joe Biden made me feel violated boundaries, made me feel uncomfortable at work. But some of the other, I don't know. So that accusation has been out there for months now. I mean, well, originally came out last year. She, a few months ago, went on a podcast called The Katie Halper Show to talk about the rest of the sexual assault and harassment that she experienced while she was employed by Joe Biden. She said that he pushed her against a wall and digitally penetrated her. And we
and then he was what? I thought you liked me.
Yeah, he literally said that. He was it's yucky, and I don't know.
I don't know. It's just the number of men that I've been on a date with, and then they decide that means more is gonna happen at the end of the night, and then I'm no, just not. It's fine. And they either get mad or just oh, what? Was I not nice to you? Mm-hmm. Do you not like me? And it's no, I can like you and also want you to physically not touch me or take two steps away from me right now.
The entitlement.
Yeah.
Pretty gross.
So, yeah, it's not great.
So I originally heard Tara Reade's name a couple months ago. I didn't really look too much into it because my original thought was, if this is a credible accusation, there will be more about it in the news. And I did see a lot about it on Twitter, but I didn't see a lot about it in the news. There has been a New York Times article about it now.
I feel like nothing but COVID has been in the news.
True.
And so it just got like swept under that.
But so as soon as, I think it was probably about a month ago that I decided to like really look into it, and I listened to the entire hour-long podcast that she was on. She sounds incredibly believable. You know, it sounds like just like every other accusation of there was nothing like out of the ordinary. The thing that I got stuck on originally was what some people were pointing out was that she does have some like weird blog posts from a couple years ago about Vladimir Putin. So a lot of people latched onto that, and they were like, oh, Russia is fucking with our elections. Like, what if Tara Reade is a plant? Like, da 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 da. And I mean, my like Russia radar is on like full alert all the time. So, I like tried to get to the bottom of it. It's 100% a conspiracy theory. I mean, like two things can be true at once, which is that she can have been sexually assaulted by Joe Biden in the early 90s, and in the 2010s she can write weird shit about Vladimir Putin. Like, they don't disqualify each other. But as with most sexual assault allegations, you kind of just have to wait, and then more information comes out later, and that is what's been happening basically. So it's pretty textbook, and I think the most disappointing part is not that he committed the sexual assault, but that he just like has completely he hasn't addressed it. He hasn't apologized. He hasn't said anything about it. And that's like the part that's the most disappointing to me.
Yeah, I think that is so much about like the nuance of questionable activities related to sexual misconduct that like we talked about in our episode a couple weeks ago, right? Was that like it's not excusable, but it's at least forgivable.
Yeah.
If someone owns up and asks for that forgiveness and apologizes and like does something to make it right. But just being like, well, let's just try not to talk about it or to discredit like these people as individuals who are coming forward with something very difficult is not the right approach.
Yeah, because everybody makes mistakes. This is a pretty big one, obviously, but he has just this perfect opportunity to be transparent and open about it and say, hey, like this happened. Because like you said, that would be acceptable, but it's following the same course that every other sexual assault allegation, credible one, follows, which is that additional supporting details come out later, and then usually the perpetrator denies it.
Yeah, and like Biden has a lot to atone for. He does. And like we, the American people, especially if he's a presidential candidate, as well as women, just as humans across the globe, like deserve him to say something about it. Like, he has been criticized rightfully for how he handled Anita Hill's accusations of sexual harassment in the early 90s.
If you haven't heard that story, it's basically like the Brett Kavanaugh thing, but 20 years earlier. Clarence Thomas was credibly accused by Anita Hill of sexually assaulting, or was it? It may have just been sexual harassment. No.
Yeah, I think it was sexual harassment.
Okay. It was, yeah, he definitely like talked about like porn at work and stuff like that in front of just inappropriate stuff. But yeah, so Joe Biden had a role in that, but it was basically the same thing. They discredited Anita Hill. It's like largely believed now that was a huge mistake.
Yeah, and like Biden should address that. So like he should not be afraid to have that conversation, even though it's a scary conversation. Well, it's also a really scary world for women who have not been believed when they come forward, or who have not been able to ever even come forward about sexual harassment or sexual assault. like, this is actually an opportunity for him to shape the conversation and try to reframe the way people like think about or approach these issues, which, like, because this is such a pervasive cultural thing, he needs to do.
Yeah, he could be an example. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he should make it very clear to us, like the voting public, that like how his actions as a leader of our country can change the status quo for the way that we handle sexual assault and sexual harassment. Like, he should be very clear on what his administration, should he get elected president, is going to do about this.
Yeah.
And I did see, like, on his campaign website, there are plans for reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act, which is good. Like, that's good. He has been an advocate for that before.
I have a list of the good things that he's done.
Okay,
do you want me to tell you about those? Because that's on there.
Get the positive things out.
Yeah, because that's the hard thing, is that, like, that's what the Hitler to Chris Evans continuum is all about, is like people fall everywhere in the middle because everybody has good and bad traits in them. So do I think we deserve better than Joe Biden? Yes, but I see positives in Joe Biden also. It's disappointing, but like, you go to war with, okay, anyway, I mean, we'll get to it, but anyway, if he ends up being the candidate, I will support him and I will do what I can to help him get elected. But it's just disappointing. I just think we could have had better. But he worked to pass the Violence Against Women Act, like you said. He has improved his views on abortion and the Hyde Amendment lately. He kind of, sort of apologized to Anita Hill. I would not call it a sincere apology. Basically what happened, I don't know if you remember, but like right before he announced he was running for president, he like called her to talk to her about it, and her account of it was basically like, yeah, he talked about, I wouldn't really consider it an apology. Like, it doesn't really seem like he gets very defensive, you know. It doesn't really seem like he knows how to
white guy.
Yeah. And that, again, that's like a pretty Kevin like trait, to be honest. You know, he has, you know, good and bad in him. He's probably, I mean, we're calling him our asshole of the week, aren't we?
Yeah, he's totally our asshole of the week.
Yeah. So like,
like
he'll be in the middle, but he's on the continuum.
Yeah, he's on the continuum, and yeah, even if you're floating around the middle, like, you can still totally be the asshole of the week, because you can still totally be an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, Democrats are not exempt from being assholes. They're not exempt from being racist and misogynist. They're not. We have examples of that.
Yes. So he also promised he would pick a woman for vice president and that he would appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court. And now my list of things I'm pleased with Joe Biden about is over.
I have one more.
Okay, what is it?
He helped launch the It's On Us organization.
What's that?
That's for combating sexual assault on college campuses. So that was something that he did when he was vice president for Obama. Okay. Again, like,
he can.
That's not like it's all him, but like, he can have that as a treat. Like, it doesn't exempt him for his behaviors, but like, it's one thing, I guess, that gets him like an inch closer to the right side of our continuum. Yeah.
Should I also lay out like what the accusations against him are, and then we can talk about some other stuff?
Yeah, if you want to.
Okay. So Tara Reade worked in Biden's office in 1992 and 1993, and she was one of a couple women to allege that Biden had touched her neck and shoulders in ways that were inappropriate. And in Reade's case, she worked for him at the time, which, if you... I've been watching the R. Kelly documentary, which, again, like, I am not comparing Joe Biden to R. Kelly, but predators do... people who, I mean, whatever, like, that was predatory behavior. So I'm going to say it. They try to test people's boundaries. So like, that neck and shoulders stuff is kind of, it serves two purposes, because it also tells you who's okay with you doing that and who isn't going to push back. And probably part of the reason he does it with young women so much is because they don't yet know what appropriate boundaries are or how to say no. But
especially when you work for them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So he was testing those boundaries. And then in March of this year, Reed went further and claimed that Biden, in fact, digitally penetrated her against a wall, and that when she complained to his staff, she was retaliated against professionally. She complained to his staff about an earlier incident where he asked her to serve drinks at an event because he said she had nice legs. Like, he didn't say that directly to her, but like that was what was understood. Yeah. So she complained, she filed a sexual harassment report, and like everybody in the office made fun of her because that was just like the culture. So the other thing that I hear a lot is, well, why didn't she do anything about, like, why didn't she tell HR, or why didn't she go to the police? And first of all, we know now that that's a completely inappropriate response to somebody's sexual assault, because everybody responds to trauma in different ways. But that's why she didn't do it, because she came forward with the like sexual harassment stuff about her legs, and people were like, take it as a compliment, which is exactly what happened to me when I told somebody about my sexual assault the first time, told me to take it as a compliment. So that is my, like, I'm not going to say trigger, but it is just like, oh, shut the fuck up. But,
yes, what a compliment that they don't respect me as an autonomous person.
Exactly. Ugh. But so yeah, so told her to take it as a compliment, and was basically like shamed for coming forward. And so unfortunate, of course, but that's why she didn't come forward later, is because like she didn't have any evidence to say that it would be taken seriously. So yeah. And then she was retaliated against professionally, and two former staffers do recall that she was like terminated as their supervisor pretty quickly after that. And those were kind of all the claims that she made, that and that she told her mom and her brother and a friend at the time in the early 90s when it happened. But recently, audio emerged of Reed's mother, who died in 2016, but said that she told Larry King about the assault because she called into a television channel, like or a radio channel, to talk about it. Like, she was asking for advice. The radio show,
like CNN Larry King?
Yes. Yeah. Oh. But in 1993.
Okay.
He was like doing a special or something, or talking about dysfunction in Washington. And she called in, and it's recorded. Whoever it was, whichever investigative journalist, did like a really good job of deep diving into like California radio records or something. Found the recording of Tara Reid's mom talking to Larry King about, not in as many words, like she didn't mention sexual assault, but she did mention that her daughter had problems with a prominent senator and wasn't really sure where to go from there because she wasn't receiving support from work. But yeah. Wow. So yeah, these are all that final. Yeah, all kind of scary. But that final piece where they found the recording of Tara Reid's mom from 1993 talking about it, like, that should put all these rumors about Russia to bed. You know, like, Vladimir Putin is a powerful guy, but he can't go back to the 90s and make Tara Reid's mom talk to Larry King on the radio about something. So it's credible. And if people don't think it's credible, I think they either haven't heard all of the evidence or are like in some pretty strong denial. And that is kind of the problem, is that people think it's easy. People would rather believe that there's like a murderous dictator in Russia pulling the strings than like Joe Biden, like the guy who's running on his character, like turns out to be a sexual predator.
Right. It's that way with so many things, right? Like, look at Trump. Like, so many people, it's easier to believe that like the media is lying and creating fake news about all these things, and that, you know, like other people are lying, rather than to believe that we have a president who is, I mean, intent on destroying the very foundation of this nation in the White House. Like, it's just easier to believe like conspiracy side of things rather than just like, hey, this human actually really isn't great or sucks completely.
Yeah. And there's so much misinformation like saturating the atmosphere that it's really hard to tell what's true and what's not. But we pay an incredible amount of attention to particularly like Russian propaganda. Like we're very sensitive to disinformation campaigns coming from there. So I promise we will never talk on this show without being sure about like what is misinformation and what isn't, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Hence the name of the podcast.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think that all of this kind of brings us to like, so what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to vote for Joe Biden?
Right.
Just because he's not as bad as Trump? Like what? Which like, I mean, I don't know, I guess. Like
I was for like 2 weeks recently. I mean, like I wasn't ready to talk about it on the show yet because so I was really waiting. There was a women's town hall this week where Hillary Clinton was set to endorse Joe Biden for president. And I was 100% sure that at that women's town hall, he was going to at least address the Tara Reade thing. And he didn't. And I don't think he's going, like, I think he would have done it already. I don't know. Like, so I think he's just going to ignore it, which is disgusting and disappointing, but it is crazy to me. So for these past 2 weeks, I've just been like, are we really going to nominate this guy? Are we really going to fucking nominate this guy?
Yeah.
Are we the only people paying attention? Like we're going to let this happen. You're just going to tell women that you're cool. Democrats are just as cool with nominating a sexual predator as Republicans are. Cool. Awesome. Great. That sucks. So I've been like real angry about it. I still think that, you know, we haven't nominated anybody yet. Like this should be disqualifying. We should all demand that better is how I feel about it. We should all realize that we deserve a lot better, especially for the highest office. But I don't know. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of coronavirus information around, like, so that's taking up a lot of news space. He's been in the public eye for so long that it is kind of hard to believe that allegations would come out now, but it happens and they still deserve as much attention and vetting as any other allegations. So I'm less angry now. I still like the best thing to happen would be for him to step down or for the DNC or somebody with authority to say, hey, we're not cool with credible accusations of sexual assault. But even if that doesn't happen, like I'm going to try to get him elected because in Lauren Duca's words, voting for Joe Biden is like eating a stale cracker and voting for Donald Trump is like drinking bleach. So those are our options. So yeah, I'm going to fight for the stale cracker, but that sucks.
Yeah. And it's just like overall just really disappointing. And it's okay to sit with that, right? Like we are sitting here grappling with having to like choose between somebody who has been credibly accused of sexual assault and somebody who has faced like over 50 allegations
at least
of sexual assault, sexual misconduct,
rape, straight up rape.
Yeah, rape.
One of which is of a 13-year-old girl.
Right, exactly. And like it's especially disappointing. I mean, for me anyway, like when I look at what we started with in terms of all of the, 500 Democrats that we had initially running for president, it was so diverse, right? We had women, we had people of color, we had people from so many different backgrounds and states. And so we started with that. And then we've still ended up with an old white guy who is morally questionable at best. Right. I mean, I don't know, like how you even exactly, I mean, it's icky. It's icky and it feels icky. And like, we're not the only ones that feel that way. Right. For sure. I mean, one, you can tell that if you like are on social media at all. Or if you like speak to other humans. And then to like, we'll make sure that we post it on our social media, but HuffPost spoke with 15 different survivors of sexual assault about the Tara Reade allegations, and like how it made them feel. And yeah, they all also feel the way we do about Tara Reade's credibility. And they also feel really gross about this situation. Yeah. The idea of Trump having 4 more years in the White House, we know is damaging, mm-hmm. right? Like Trump, his, this is a straight quote from this article, is Trump's misogynistic ideologies are also reflected in his policies. After taking office in 2017, Trump reinstated and expanded the global gag rule, a controversial policy that cuts off U.S. funding to any international organizations offering abortion care services. Trump appointed Betsy DeVos as education secretary. She's definitely a future asshole of the week.
Oh, yeah.
And she single-handedly rolled back sexual assault survivors' rights on college campuses across the country, and hardly anybody even talked about mm-hmm. it. And more recently, as we all know, Trump nominated Brett Kavanaugh despite the sexual assault allegations against him. Yeah. So, like, Trump isn't trying to hide the fact that he is a rapist. He's not trying to hide the fact that he is misogynist and doesn't care about women or survivors or anyone mm-hmm. except for the people in his immediate circle. Whereas, I mean, Biden at least has shown through a long history in politics of having some level of caring and commitment for people, even if that is like seriously like in contrast to some of his individual behavior. And I think that's part of what makes it feel so gross, right? Like some of the survivors that the HuffPost journalists talked to in this article said, like, they're just not voting. And, a lot of them said, like, rather than sitting out the election, they will still vote for him. But in addition to that, like, their plan is to make it so that allegations of sexual assault are disqualifying in the future, right? So that we can change that, change the way that we just accept sexual assault and sexual harassment as like a truth.
There's an incredible culture of sexual violence in this country, which is part of the reason why women are disbelieved or survivors are disbelieved. But Tarana Burke, who started the Me Too movement. That's her name, right? Tarana? Fuck. Hold on. Yeah, Tarana Burke was tweeting about it yesterday. And like, I mean, that's what it boils down to is like we have a culture of sexual violence, and the sooner that we realize that it's common, the quicker we can acknowledge it, the quicker we can fix it and then minimize the risk from it. And we should be demanding better. But yeah, I mean, if Joe Biden, I think a lot of what, I don't know, our behavior, feminist behavior, women's behavior moving forward probably depends on the state that you live in. Like I know you and I even are probably going to end up doing different things because you live in a swing state and I don't. Mm-hmm. Like I'm going to keep writing letters to swing states. I'm going to keep trying to get swing states to flip blue. But I live in Chicago. I don't think I'm going to vote for him. Like, I don't have to. I'm still going to go to the polls. Or, I mean, honestly, I'm not going to. I'm going to vote by mail. But I'm still going to vote for everything on the ballot besides that. But it doesn't really matter if I vote for him or not. So I've been freaking out for 2 weeks. And, like, I don't even actually have to face that decision about whether I want to vote for him or not, because he'll win Illinois no matter what. So I don't know. I mean, that's where I'm at right now. It might change, but
right. And and that's like, I feel like my vote being in a swing state, like I feel like I have to, right? Yeah. Because like we're not just voting for the president, right? We're voting for who gets to pick Ruth Bader Ginsburg's replacement. Yeah. And and like, we think Trump is bad now because clearly he is. Like, imagine how much worse he can be when he has nothing else to lose. Right. Right.
Like, at least now he's running for re-election. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Whereas,
but he can be like outwardly evil.
He doesn't have that. Yeah. And later, he can ramp up the evil over 4 years past. And like, what we have seen is that there are zero Republicans, save for maybe sometimes Mitt Romney, maybe, who will even do what's right and be like, no, like, we got to get rid of this dude. He is bad. Like, nobody will hold him accountable for anything he does. So, like, 4 more years of him could mean more children in cages. It could mean more dead Black teenagers, more old people who die because they can't afford their medications, more hungry children. Like, it's not cool. And, you know, more college women and men who get raped on their campuses and nobody gives a damn. Like, and now granted, Joe Biden as the nominee definitely sends a message of like, you don't matter, you know, to survivors of sexual assault. But like 4 more years of Trump might mean that truly we don't matter to them. Because we already don't. And like, we know that because of the policies that they are enacting and the things that they are not even trying to hide. And the things that they are trying to hide, which is even more terrifying, right? Like the things that are happening that we don't know about.
Yeah. Crime hidden by scandal.
Yeah. So, I mean, Biden choosing a female running mate is a good start. A woman of color is an even better start, but we deserve so much more than that. Like, that is not like the end point. Right. We deserve more than that.
He's trying to like placate. Yeah. It's kind of like gross pandering, but it is like, okay, well, fine. Like, we'll take it because that is what we should have, that and a lot more, but okay.
Yeah. Especially because you're a 78-year-old man. And if you did end up in office, like, there's a good chance your VP could end up as president. And hell yeah, I want that to be a woman. But like, in addition to a female vice president, we deserve, and we will not shut up about needing a commitment to the person in the White House addressing sexual assault and addressing sexual harassment and all of these other issues that disproportionately affect women and also non-binary people. We have not forgotten them in all of this. And like, we're like absolutely certain we're not going to get that from Trump. We can hope that we get it from Biden, but like, we also can demand that we get that from Biden. Yeah. Like, and we should. And above all else, like, we have to change the culture that creates these problems in the first place.
Right. And yes, please acknowledge that it exists.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just going to say, that starts by acknowledging that it exists. Yeah. And then from there, it's an uphill climb. Yeah. With several pounds of rocks on your back. Right. And those rocks are actually screaming, crying white men.
or babies that you've been saddled with.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry. I also watched Florida Project. For some reason, I decided this week, I was like, I'm going to watch all the really like emotionally crushing things that I can. And somehow I'm still in a pretty good mood.
I don't know how you can handle that. Like, I've started watching The Man in the High Castle, and like, that is like too much for me.
I don't know what that is.
It's like it's a fictional show of like, if like the Axis powers had won World War II, what America would be like.
Oh, wow. Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah. Only there's like kind of like a, you know, weird twisted kind of fantasy element to it of like these alternate realities of like what could have been or like what could be in the future. Like, it's really good. Honestly, it's a super addictive show, but I mean, it's dark because it's about the Nazis and like winning World War II. So yeah, it's dark, and like, that's more than I can handle. And it is very much fictional. I cleansed my palate after watching that by rewatching Schitt's Creek. Good. Because I cannot handle real life anymore. Like, I just straight up cannot.
You see a lot in, examples in the Florida Project of like what happens when, like, I don't know. It's just, it would be so fucking hard to be a single mom, and I don't know how anybody does it, but good job, everybody. And oh my God, but okay. Anyway, that was that. Yeah. But yes, okay. Watch the Florida Project. It's really good, but maybe wait until a cheerier time. Okay, who do you like hope Joe Biden picks as VP?
Okay, so I actually did a lot of research on all of the names that have been thrown out as potential picks. I can go over them if we want to. If we don't, that's fine too.
Why don't you tell us who they all are and then give us the highlights about the ones you like, your favorite ones?
Okay, yeah, and then feel free to chime in if there's things you really like or dislike about some of them. So I'm not going through them in any particular order, FYI. And included in this list, just a heads up, not Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
A couple of people were like, what if he picks Hillary Clinton? I'm like, he's not picking.
But why would he do that?
Like, why would he do that?
Oh my God.
And not Michelle Obama either. I did not put her on this list.
I wouldn't mind.
I love Michelle Obama. Michelle, please listen to our podcast and please just give me a hug someday or something. I would literally cry. I got to hug your husband one time and I did cry. But I think I'd actually pee my pants if I ever hugged you, Michelle Obama. I love you. But I didn't include this on this list because she does not want that job.
True. Okay, good point.
She doesn't. Okay. So Tammy Baldwin is one name that's gone out. She's not as well known as some of the others. She's a senator from Wisconsin. What would be historic for her in particular, not just because she's a woman, but she would be the first openly gay person to be on a ticket. And she is the first openly gay person elected to the Senate. So that's really cool.
I like Tammy Baldwin a lot.
Yeah, I do too. But keep in mind, though, it was Wisconsin is a key swing state, a key battleground state for the election, which is part of the reason her name is thrown out there, right? It's not just because she's awesome, but it's because there's, kind of this theory that picking somebody from a key state could help you win that state. But then there's also some analysts that are but also no, that doesn't really help. So please don't base your whole decision based on the state that they're from. So it may or may not be a great strategy.
Okay.
But also her being in Wisconsin, which is just such a deep purple state, is if she was vice president, then her seat would be open and possibly end up filled by a Republican.
Oh, yeah.
Her as an incumbent, probably going to stay.
Right.
Her seat being open could end up being filled by somebody that we don't want to have it.
Losing. Yeah.
That's not cool. Val Demings is another one. Same kind of thing. She's from Florida, which is another key state. But again, we don't know that would cement a win in Florida. So that might not be what you want to pick it on. If her name sounds vaguely familiar to you, even though you don't know much about Florida politics, it's because she was one of the key members who helped in the Trump impeachment.
She did good.
Yeah, she did. That was her rise to fame.
Yeah, that's the only reason I
outside of Florida
know her name. But yeah, I like her a lot.
Yeah, this next one is a senator from Illinois we both know and love, Tammy Duckworth.
Yep.
She's a Purple Heart recipient. She's the first woman with a disability to be elected to Congress because she lost both her legs in Iraq. She's a strong advocate for women, so we love that. But she is still a very moderate, typical Midwesterner. So even though we know her and we love her, yeah, she's not, much more progressive than just kind of your average Midwestern senator. But she would be the first Asian American on a major party ticket, which is awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Another one is Keisha Lance Bottoms. She's the mayor of Atlanta. Okay. So we, have recently talked about Georgia, but her name didn't come up. Her position as a VP pick is strong, mostly just because she's been supported by Jim Clyburn, who helped Biden win South Carolina.
Right.
Which is pretty much what turned around his whole campaign.
Yep.
Another one, who I didn't really know anything about before, but Catherine Cortes Masto. She's a senator from Nevada. I think I said her last name right. I tried not to say it with an Iowa accent. Be like, Masto. So she was the first Latina elected to U.S. Senate, and Biden isn't doing great with the Latinx vote.
True.
And that's a demographic he could use some help in. And so kind of along that same vein is New Mexico governor. I can't say that 3 times fast, that's for sure. Michelle Lujan Grisham, who's also been mentioned as a potential pick. Although I'm not sure either one of those women actually want the job. So that's a whole nother thing, right?
Interesting.
Even if he asked, they might be like, nah. Stacey Abrams, right? We have talked about her. We
Mhm.
like her. She should be the governor of Georgia right now.
Mhm.
Politically, her experience is less than on pretty much all of the other women on this list, though. But I mean, she knows how to run shit, right? We know that.
Yeah, she did such a good job of expanding the electorate in Georgia that, like, I mean, that is key to Democrats winning. So I get like her argument for herself also.
Yeah, and like I get the arguments against her, but I also get the arguments for her. And I don't like it when people are like, why is she like campaigning for the job herself? Like, bitch, go after what you want. That's
Yeah.
what she's doing. Like, I'm sorry, are women not supposed to be like, raise her hand, hey, pick me? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Well, also like she is
Stop it,
so
people.
smart and competent, and she's worried about the future of our country just like we are, except our solution is to make a podcast about it and like donate some money every once in a while and write letters. And her solution is like, oh my God, let me be the second most powerful person so I can help you guys. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I can respect that.
mhm.
I just tweet about stuff.
Right.
Like, I don't,
She's
I
like,
never like
we have
founded a huge organization.
shit to fix. Pick me or else it's not getting done.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm fine with her being like, hey, look at me.
Mhm.
Like, why not? Kamala Harris. So like, obviously, if she was the VP pick, there could be some very awkward moments when like clips from the early debate of her and Biden just like going at each other's throats end up in like Trump's campaign ads.
Yep.
However, also could be like really fun and amusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like also like she is one of those people who can literally just do it all.
Yeah.
So I mean, if she's not on the ticket as vice president, don't just like think she's gonna go away. Like she could be our attorney general. She could be a Supreme Court justice. She could be a future president. Like she's still young and she's, you know, like accomplished and pretty cool and didn't necessarily run a great campaign in 2020. But like if she cleans that up, she's definitely got a chance in the future. So yeah, it's another name to keep in mind. Amy Klobuchar is another one people talk about a lot. She's a well-liked and accomplished senator from Minnesota. She did better than anyone expected in her campaign to be the Democratic nominee. And like, yeah, she's pretty moderate, but she has that strong Midwestern energy. So like because of that, as an Iowan, I have to stand. But also like, you know, part of that also comes back to like she's on the short list for possible VP picks because, you know, it's key that Biden wins over the Midwest. And you know, and she is very Midwestern.
True.
She kind of reminds me of my mom. And then a little bit, Mom, if you're listening, I hope that is a compliment to you. I don't know.
Did you mean it as a compliment?
I did.
All right, then that's all that matters.
Elizabeth Warren. So Elizabeth Warren is the actual liberal progressive piece of the puzzle we would like to see on the ticket with Biden. Like we would like to see this piece of the puzzle, and Elizabeth Warren like fits that empty space as being somebody that is actually liberal and progressive. A lot of people are very passionate about Elizabeth Warren, so that might be great in terms of inspiring the vote, which right now, yeah, like stale cracker is a great analogy for how pretty much everyone feels about Joe Biden. And like she could definitely bring some energy to the campaign. Yeah. So that's great. She's a woman with plans. She's a woman with experience, and that's the kind of stuff we love to see. And then finally, Gretchen Whitmer. I'll talk about her a little bit more on our Michigan swing state special episode that we do. But she's the Michigan governor. Biden has straight up said she's on his short list for a possible VP pick. But like Whitmer and some other potential candidates that are on this list have said that like while they do want to do everything they can to support Biden, they don't necessarily want to be his running mate.
Yeah. Well, so, Gretchen Whitmer's not up until 2022 either, so she would have to be replaced also.
Yeah, exactly. She's another one that would have to be replaced. And she like might not be necessarily wanting to do that right now.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like she's killing it as governor. So yeah, why? I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot to consider.
Yeah, and like so that's my list. As you can see, like a lot of badass, really accomplished, awesome women are on that list.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are women of color or women from like other groups that are not usually represented on, I mean, for one, a major party ticket, which is always just like old white men, and then two, even in like government in general. So yeah, those are some people that are exciting to think about.
Yay, we'd love to see it.
Yeah, so picking one of these women or someone who is not on this list as his running mate is a start for Biden. But let's keep in mind that no matter who he picks, he is not just like magically absolved from these accusations of sexual misconduct and sexual assault. So like it's a start, it's not enough, and we're not just going to like roll over once he announces his pick and be like, oh well, that's great, now we're excited to vote for him. It's like it helps, but it doesn't heal.
Right.
And so yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say about that and about Joe Biden for now.
Yeah. If I haven't made my position clear, like I want to be very clear about it. I think it should be disqualifying to have committed sexual assault and run for president. I think it should be disqualifying for a lot more than that. But I mean, definitely to run for president. So I think that he should not be the Democratic nominee. If he is, then I am going to try to do my best to get him elected in swing states, because I understand that a stale cracker is better than bleach in terms of putting shit in your body. But yeah, I mean, it's disappointing, but he's better than Donald Trump. So if I have to pick one, I'm going to pick him. But since I don't live in a swing state, I'm probably not going to do it. I'm just going to try and get my friends who do live in swing states to do it.
Hey, great. Yeah,
which is not a fun...
I'm so glad I live in a place where I'm put in the position of like...
Hey, you get to choose our president. Pick between the one who digitally penetrates women against their consent or
the one who rapes 13-year-olds.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you're going to go with not the one who... I hate it here.
I know. Okay, self-care. What are we doing that's positive?
Okay.
Let's talk about that. We gotta flip the script.
I've been taking lots of baths, and now I'm sure I'm going to just start taking more because you have put like the most fun face masks in my package. So thank you. I think that's mostly it. I have like, do you think we're allowed to call them fucking hoorays? I mean, what is my favorite murder going to do? Sue us?
My favorite murder, we love you. Yes. And we have adopted fucking hoorays.
Sorry. So right before the quarantine started, my mom, she gets Botox shots into her shoulder for pain relief. And we made like a really hard decision to cancel one right before the quarantine started because I was like, you know what? I just think it's too dangerous to be out and about right now. Like no doctor's offices are taking precautions yet, but you're immunocompromised. And like, I don't think we didn't have any like masks at the time. Like, you know, nothing was even shut down yet. It's just, we were like hyper vigilant because she's immunocompromised. And then, but like, because we put that appointment off, she was in kind of like extra pain, basically just for the last like 6 weeks. But finally, the doctor called and we rescheduled it for Monday, the day that this episode comes out. And I'm just like so excited to get her back to the doctor, but like in a safe environment, you know, where everybody has masks and gloves and we're being very careful. And yeah, so it was like, I don't know. I just feel so much better that is scheduled now.
Yay. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and okay, sorry. And then I'm going to let you go, but Squeaky let me pet her 3 times yesterday.
Good.
So she's becoming a comfortable member of our family.
Oh, poor baby.
Sort of, until somebody else adopts her. you adopt her. Not you, but like whoever's listening to this, please adopt this cat.
Adopt Squeaky.
She's kind of clearly like had a hard life because I'll post a video on the FYMI page so you can see what it's like, what the experience of petting Squeaky is like, because it is there's danger involved. She's feisty. But what about you? What's your self-care for the week or whatever?
So I haven't done it yet, but I was listening to Gretchen Rubin's podcast Happier.
What's that?
And it's like they just talk about different strategies to being happier.
Lovely.
I don't listen religiously, but every once in a while I'll listen to one, like an episode that just like seems interesting.
Mm-hmm.
She's like kind of dorky, but I love it. It's refreshing. But so she said to write a congratulations letter to your future self about something that you accomplish. And I love that. Like, I am somebody that's like so self-driven and so like disappointed in myself constantly for not doing enough, which is ridiculous. And I've always been that way. And my parents would sit there like, how did we make you this way? Yeah. We are not like that kind of parent. And I'm like, I'm not worthy of love. I'm not kidding. I was like 5. And I told my parents that there's no way they could love me because I wasn't perfect. And they're like, what are you talking about?
That sounds really stressful.
Where did you come up with this idea? I don't know where I did, honestly. My parents are great and they were never like pressuring. But anyway, because I'm one of those people, I'm going to write some congratulations letters to my future self about these things that I've accomplished. And I love that. Like, yeah, I think that sounds like great self-care, especially in this time where I'm like feeling like, oh my gosh, there's a pandemic and we're all like staying home and I should be accomplishing all these things that I'm not. Like, I can't speak Spanish. And
what's the first letter of congratulations you're going to write?
I don't know. Like, my first thought was that I was going to write a letter of congratulations to myself for losing weight. But then like that sounds so stupid and like vapid and whatever. But I also know
it's
like
hard and
it's hard
and hard to do it. So I think you can do that. But I think you should at least write one more that is unrelated to that.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm like, I need to like not care about that so much, but I do. So maybe writing this letter will be kind of healing and get that out of the way.
Sure.
Yeah. And so maybe I'll do the other one about like completing my PT because I don't do my physical therapy exercises nearly enough. And so if I just like write a letter to my future self about how good I was at rocking my PT, like I'm going to get to the point that I need to order the most extreme hip bands that they sell and that I've worn out my like mat that I do it on. I want to kill it with the PT, like competitive physical therapy. I'm winning. Oh boy. I mean, that's what I want. Like, I'm not there yet, but that's what I want.
Yeah.
And, so that's the goal.
Okay.
Because also if I do that, like maybe I won't be in pain all the time.
Right.
Which would be great.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
so what about political actions?
Okay. Like I've said, I've been spending a ton of my time watching the R. Kelly documentary.
I mean, that's kind of a political statement.
I mean, there's a lot of parallels. Like, it's kind of gross, and I wish there weren't, but there are. Okay. I did go, as usual, to my Swing Left meeting on Monday nights where we write 20 Vote Forward letters, and it is, like, just as delightful now as it was in the beginning. I just really, really like it. They had been focusing on getting that Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice, the progressive one, elected, and she did get elected. So now we're kind of regrouping and deciding what we want to dedicate our time to. So the last time we had, it's the last House district that is not Democratic in the northern half of Illinois.
Okay.
So the progressive woman running joined our little like Swing Left party on Monday. So we got to talk to her and talk about what kind of actions we can do to try and help get her elected. And it was cool to talk to her. I mean, she was just like in our Zoom call and then she left like halfway through and the group kept talking about like what we could kind of do to help her out. So that is an awesome, like if you're still looking for ways to get involved and you haven't yet, that's a really awesome way to do it because your local Swing Left or Indivisible group mine is actually kind of combined, sort of. They're already doing work. Like, you don't even have to figure out what you need to do. You can just join that group, and they're already probably focusing on campaigns that are closer to you where you can make a big impact. So actually, as soon as we get off this call, I'm joining another call to do to learn how to write letters to the editor for a different Democratic congressional candidate in Illinois. So I'm excited. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
So yeah, there's lots of stuff that people can do. That's what I'm doing this week. Like I said, it was kind of. I felt like I was kind of not doing a ton this week. Aside from watching terrible. I'm going to tell you more about it next week once I finish the series. But like, he did not live that far from me. I mean, like, his house was in Chicago. Like,
yeah.
At the time I didn't know when that was going on, but holy shit. So those are my actions. That's why I'm in such a good mood all week, or I've been in a good mood.
Love it.
What are your actions?
Yeah. So I had my first letter writing Zoom thing with the Vote Forward Swing Lab group. And I missed it because I have an autoimmune condition and I was just like feeling gross and I needed to lay down and take a nap instead. And like, I felt really guilty about it, but then I also was like, how useful would I have been in that moment? Probably not very, and it's fine. Sign up for another one.
Right.
And also, so with the Iowa Senate primary election coming up June 2nd, I am just going to spend a little bit more time like investigating the candidates and like being 100% sure on who I want to vote for. Yeah. Teresa Greenfield has been endorsed by Emily's List, which is great and awesome. And I like her and I'll vote for her if she's the candidate. But also finally this week, I got like reached out to by the campaign for Kimberly Graham, who like I only knew a little bit about.
Right.
And as I learned more, I really like her a lot. And she's been endorsed by a brand new Congress, which means a ton. So yeah, so, you know, I just want to like figure out exactly who I want to vote for in that primary and then talk to my friends and family about that so that they are not only planning on voting, but that they know who they want to vote for. And everything. So, I mean, I think sometimes people forget about primaries.
So can you tell me her name again?
Kimberly Graham.
Okay, so Kimberly Graham is running against Joni Ernst for the Iowa Senate seat that's up. Oh, but sorry, but right now she's just trying to get the Democratic nomination.
Yeah, there's actually 5 different Democrats in that primary, which is a lot.
How cool is it that you get to pick between this progressive that you really, really like, and then like, but we'll probably end up having to settle for Teresa Greenfield, who's also great. Like, that's so nice.
Exactly. It's like, oh wow, there's this progressive woman who I really, really like, who's very like pro Medicare for all, pro Green New Deal, and then this other woman who's like very accomplished and like would be great to be a great senator. And even though it's going to be extremely hard to vote out Joni Ernst, I mean, there's always a chance there.
There's definitely a chance.
And, you know, like, I know a lot of my family and friends probably are not planning on voting in the primary. So I'm going to make sure that they all get signed up for their absentee ballots so that they can.
And then they'll be comfortable in November.
Right, exactly. And it's very, very easy to vote by mail and vote absentee in Iowa. Like, it's very easy. So, like, there's not a reason for them not to. Right. So this weekend, I'm looking forward to having that chat with my whole family.
Awesome. I mean, and part of the reason that you get to pick, I mean, you're voting between 2 women. I mean, the solution to this problem is having a Congress that is representative and reflective of the country that we live in. So right now it's about a quarter women. It really is not enough until it's 51% women, because our country is 51% women. But I mean, that's the way that we fix it. We get our Congress to look closer to what our country actually looks like. So we should only elect women and men who understand what consent is and can explain it back to us.
Yeah, exactly. And like right now, Joni Ernst does not represent me.
Right.
She doesn't represent anything that I believe in. And so I am looking forward to doing everything I can to get a candidate in that seat who does.
Yeah. Because there's plenty of people to be excited about. And we deserve better than Joe Biden. It's a bummer that we're not excited about him, but there are plenty of things still to be excited about and to fight for.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where I also announce my own candidacy. I'm just kidding. I don't even know if I'm old enough.
I'm pretty sure you are.
Am I? I don't know.
I don't know.
Like,
I mean,
don't
not
know
for
what
president.
The rules are on that.
I don't know. Pete
I have no
Buttigieg
idea.
was mayor of South Bend. Oh, sorry. He's 37. All right. It doesn't matter. Morgan's not running right now, but we're working on it.
Someday.
Yeah.
Look out, city council.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway.
That's our official take on Joe Biden. Everybody, know your worth. Know what you deserve. It's better than that, but...
Demand better.
Right. And we will talk to you guys next week.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will talk to you next week, and stay sexy.
And God bless Sarah Kendzior.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for listening to For Your Misinformation. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you like it, give us a rating and a review. It helps us find more listeners, and the more of us there are, the better.
And make sure you're following along on Instagram and Twitter at FYMI Pod.
Shout out to Kyle Dibdahl for the intro and outro music, Hope Dye for the podcast art, and Ben Schlofelt for the audio production.
We come out with new episodes every Monday.